So what's going on, guys? DIY Dan here again, and this is kind of a random miscellaneous video. So my family and I were running around one Saturday and we were in the same parking lot as a Ross Dress for Less. So my wife and kids decided they wanted to go ahead and scope it out. Now I have bought clothes from there before, but I've never really looked any further than that. This time I didn't really feel like clothes shopping, so I decided to go look at the rest of the store, and I actually found some pretty interesting finds for a really good price. I'm gonna run through them as quick as possible. So after finding a couple items that I really liked, I tried going to a couple other Rosses over a couple weeks span when I was in the area to see if I could get more of those items, and that was hit or miss because some stores had some products that other stores didn't. So keep in mind, the items that I go through in this video, you might not be able to find at a Ross near you. If you're like me, it never even triggered me to even think about looking in their hardware department at a Ross Dress for Less, and you might actually find some different things that come in really handy for a good price as well. The other thing about a Ross is it's kind of an organized chaos, so you might have to dig around a little bit to find these items as well. Irregardless, if you're like me, you need some time to burn anyways, because the wife and kids take a lot longer to look at clothes than I do. So let's jump right into it. I thought this was a good little find. $7, little shovel. I'm gonna throw it in each one of my sand cars for digging out sand if I get stuck. Another thing I found was this folding shovel. Came with a little bag. It's actually a pretty durable little shovel. Folds it open, screw it down, tighten it down. And it's actually a pretty decent, solid little shovel there. So, decent little work bag here. Only $4.99. Pretty solid bag, decent zipper. I ended up getting a couple of those. They had bigger ones with a hard plastic bottom. Decent amount of compartments for organizing, like a tool bag. This one was actually 10 bucks. Now this probably wasn't that great of a deal, but I got a set of earmuffs. I'm out working with equipment a lot, need these, and I just happened to be there, so I went ahead and got them. 7 bucks, still not bad. I also ended up purchasing a pair of safety glasses that were only $2.99. I already took those out of the package because I needed them for work. So another thing I found was this glass breaker / seatbelt cutter. I like to have this in the driver's door of each one of my vehicles. In case you get in an accident and you can't open the door, you can break the glass. And if your seatbelt's stuck after an accident and you can't get out of it, you can cut your seatbelt so you can get out of the vehicle. I also found these socket holders, a 1/4-inch rack, 3/8 rack, and a 1/2-inch rack. They snap into place, just makes it so they kind of hold your sockets in an organized fashion. Now these ones were made of plastic, so obviously they're a little bit on the cheaper side, but for in a toolbox at your house, it would work nicely, and it was only $3.99. A little speedy square, 6 bucks. Again, that's not a terribly good deal. You can probably find them on Amazon for that much, but I was there, so I went ahead and got one because I need it for work. One of my favorite finds at Ross, and I found this at 2 different stores, was this 3-pound sledgehammer. It was only $7 and actually has a pretty good grip handle on it. It feels pretty solid. I was really happy with that find. Another thing I like to keep in each one of my vehicles as an emergency situation is a tire plug kit. And they actually had one of these. It was only $2.99. Came with the tools, the glue, and 4 or 5 plugs. I already put this in one of my vehicles as well. The other really good thing I came across was this 40-piece socket set, 3/8 drive with metric and standard for $9. This is one of the reasons that I went to multiple stores over a couple week period when I was in those areas to try and find more of these socket sets, because the first store I went to had 2 of them. Then one of the other ones didn't have any, and another one had 1. So I ended up getting 4 or 5 of these so I could put one in each one of my vehicles and one in my Razor and a sand car. Now, one thing I will say about this socket set, this isn't a day in, day out use socket set. It is a little bit on the cheaper side, but it is something nice to stick in a vehicle, so you've got it if you absolutely need it. Found these, decent set of slip joint pliers. Crescent's an actually pretty decent brand, 12 bucks. For a pair of slip joint pliers this big, 12 bucks is pretty much a steal for that. So I bought 2 of these foldable saws. This one was $6.50. It actually opened up in 2 different positions. Now, your more expensive ones have multiple positions it will angle to. But again, for $6.50, I'm not really complaining. So this was another foldable saw I found. This one was only $5. And again, my thought with this was probably put it in my Razor. I've been on some trails where they're really skinny and they've had a tree basically knocked over in the middle of the road with branches sticking up that could theoretically puncture a tire. So I figure I'll stick this in there and I can cut those off if necessary. Again, not everyday use tool, but for an emergency to have it for $5. So I did find this little digital tire pressure gauge. However, when I opened it up, it was not working, so I will be returning this, but this was $5.99. My guess, it being at Ross, is just a little on the old side and the batteries probably went dead. Regardless, I'm gonna return it. I do recommend keeping a receipt for Ross because I think they are a little bit more stringent with their return policy. So I did end up going back to Ross and returning this and went to get another one, and I was actually able to turn this one on while I was at the store to make sure it worked. My guess with the other one is somebody turned it on, left it on, and then killed the battery. Got this little wire brush set. This was a little pricey. This was 13 bucks. But I really needed one of these. The other day I was cleaning out my hose bibs and replacing the O-ring to keep them from leaking. And one of these would have come in really handy to stick on a drill. It's got a hand tool also with an extension. I also got this 1/4-inch drive bit set. I like to keep one of these in each of my vehicles as well. So I've got kind of a variety of some Torx, some Allens. This was $6, $5.99. This wasn't one of my favorite finds at Ross, but I didn't feel it was that bad of a deal. They also had this socket set for $9 as well. This is more for putting in a toolbox at your house instead of a carrying case, which is more suited for a vehicle. A couple other quick finds that I had was these spot mirrors. These work really well for putting on your side mirrors to eliminate blind spots. It was only $2.99. They're just little stickers that you put on. And then this was a little razor knife scraper. Again, $2.99, and I went ahead and grabbed that as well. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video and it gave you some good information. If so, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'd really appreciate it. The whole concept of my channel is to give you guys the most information in the least amount of time as possible so I don't waste your time. And I hope to see you next time. Later.